We're live. All right. Hello, everybody. This is Taste Life Nutrition Radio and Podcast. We are streaming live on kuhsdenver.com and all of the places around the world. So today I'm super excited to have on Ryan Root. This is going to be such a amazing, deep conversation that I am excited to learn about and excited to share about. Ryan's doing amazing things in the hormone world. So
Mhm.
Ryan, thanks for being here.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I
Yeah.
appreciate everything. You and I have um have done some work together in the past with some podcasts, and I actually have you treating my own mother.
Yeah. I'm so grateful for that. She's a ton of fun. She's a little
Yeah.
firecracker. Cool. So first things first, we always start the show with gratitude because gratitude can change the world. So what are you grateful for?
Oh, I'm grateful for um being able to I guess like we all go through some trials and tribulations in our lives, right? And I always say that if from failure comes success, right? And you have to fail before you can succeed. So I'm grateful. I'm actually grateful for my failures and the ability to learn from them and then the ability to expound
Mhm.
on that and be able to turn failure into success. So that's what I'm grateful for.
It's
Mhm.
such a good thing to be grateful for because it's always
Mhm.
so hard when we're going through it, right?
Yeah,
And then you're
it
like,
is.
okay, I'm on the other side of that one. Here we go. Let's go. And then there's
Yeah,
another one, and you got to get on the other side of that one.
yeah. You don't like if I could go back and change one thing, it would be, I used to regress and hate failure so much that I didn't even want to try new things
Yeah.
because failure was so painful. If I
Mhm.
could go back and tell my younger self, it's embrace your failures. It's the best teacher that we have. Right. So
Yeah.
so just we should almost celebrate our failures. Okay, good. I got that out of the way. I won't do that again. And now I'm going to create an environment and a
Mhm.
situation that avoids that failure. Right.
Yeah.
So, so I think like that's the lesson. Embrace your failures, learn from them, and get better.
Awesome. Yeah. So good and so true. I'm assuming you're okay with this because we'll hear a little bit more about your story, which
Sure.
is such a big part of
Mhm.
who you are, how you came to this place. And so I'm excited to dig into that. It's such it's a tough story, but it's a great story,
Yeah.
right? So for me, I think I'm excited. So I've been wanting to do this for a while and I'm finally doing it. So two things. I'm grateful to have my niece here who's interning with me, which means she's getting a lot of stuff done that I just haven't had the time to do, which also then translates into a monthly, I'm not calling it a workshop, it's more of a conversation. So this monthly health intelligence conversation that I want to have, that I want to bring people in, and I want it's live. We're answering questions, and so we're starting that July 1st.
Oh,
And
good.
yeah, I'm super excited about that. The first one we're going to talk about labs, right? We're
Mhm.
going to talk a lot about labs today, but there's these little details about labs that so often we're just not told about, right?
Mhm.
And then we've got our lab ranges and our functional ranges, and what do those mean, and why are they different? And there's so much that we should know just in order to be able to ask intelligent questions to our practitioners, conventional or functional or otherwise. So that's what we're going to start doing every month, the first Wednesday of the month, and I'm super excited about it.
That's great. I have a lot of little tricks about that, about labs, and yeah, you're right. There's a lot of misleading. Like
Yeah.
what's not understood is a lot of the ranges are completely arbitrary, right? And
Yeah.
they're rooted in nothing real. So you have to understand, what you're looking at and what the ideal ranges actually are.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, the ideal range and the ideal range for you, right?
Mhm. Oh,
It's,
yeah. Right.
everybody's so different.
Yep.
For just a quick example, my sweet mom, she was having, she was, this crazy extreme fatigue. And I just kept telling her, you got to go get your thyroid checked. And they would check it, but they would check TSH. And they're like, this is all that matters. And then her TSH would be like 4, and like, you're fine. And she said, there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so for her, well, and for most people, I mean, you can have symptoms at 3, right? But for her, she was anywhere from 4 to 8. And they're
Oh,
like, not a big deal. You're okay. So she thought she was crazy anyway. So finally,
yeah.
shockingly, she ended up, with Hashimoto's. And so we managed that. But yeah, I mean, why is it that we have to just be so intent? Like, why can't you just do what I ask you to do? Just run the labs. Just run the labs.
It's
I don't know.
templated, right? Like one of the big problems is it's just a templated system. Like if
Yeah.
this, then do this. And
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
is in this arbitrary range, what people don't understand is that the ranges are just come from statistical equations. They just
Mm.
come from averages from average populations. And UNC found a study that over 80% of the population has some form of metabolic disorder. So if you're taking an average person, they have metabolic dysfunction.
Yeah.
And you're basing your labs on that, on
Mhm.
metabolic dysfunction. So like we start to normalize dysfunction that way, right? So
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. You're exactly right. I would love to um pick your brain a little bit, not today, but at some point, and hear some of that. I think there's so many great things, and I'm still learning, to go deeper and deeper with the labs, but would love to pick your brain a little bit on that.
sure.
Yeah, cool. Okay, let's do this. Let's jump into your story, how you got to this place where you are kicking ass and taking names.
Sure, I'll be really quick. If I guess if anybody wants my story in depth, like you can just go
Mhm.
to YouTube and type in my name, and many, many iterations of podcasts with my full story come up. So I'll just really, really quick because I think like the greater information that we're going to present here, I think is really important.
Yep.
So I started off, my story starts off with I had low testosterone myself. Even as a teenager, I now know because I can look back and say I had hormone deficiency this whole time. As a teenager, I was fatigued, lethargic, lacked confidence, no ambition, motivation. I didn't mature like my peers. I got picked on for being skinny when I was 13, which
Mhm.
prompted me to start working out, and I never looked back. I worked out really hard, but I still didn't grow like my peers. I would be in the gym and get half the results of any of my friends. Or I'd work twice as hard and get half the results. So in my early 20s, I happened to be I have always been a science guy, so I happened to be in college for biochemistry. And I just started to learn about a little bit about testosterone, and I just wanted to see what was going on there, if that had anything to do with the way I felt. And my doctors wouldn't even help me. They wouldn't even test my levels. They said, "There's no way anybody in their early 20s can have low testosterone. We're not even going to test it. It's not even something that we're willing to look at."
Unbelievable.
So I had to take my health into my own hands. I started taking testosterone on my own at 23. I took a relatively small amount, and it dramatically improved my quality of life to the point where I live two completely different lives, two completely different worlds.
Mm.
Would I want to? So again, I worked really hard. I worked out for 2 hours a day. Sometimes I did double sessions. I just because I didn't want to be skinny. So um, it. Again, it dramatically improved my quality of life. I put on about 32 pounds of muscle. And if anybody understands, this is 100 pounds on my bench press in about 5 weeks, which is just unheard of. I just hyper responded.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I just hyper
Yeah.
responded. But it wasn't only that. I don't want people to think about, oh, well, that testosterone is only about building muscle mass. It's it was also my brain fog went away, my confidence went up, my energy. I forgot when I was a teenager, even adults used to call me a lazy piece of crap because I had to take naps every day and I just wasn't motivated. Turns out I was a very motivated person. I just needed the right amount of testosterone. So um, I was ambitious. I could think better. I did better in school. I was confident. I was depressed. What I also forgot to mention is as a teenager, I was just depressed. I was a people pleaser. I wanted everybody to like me. I let people walk on me because of it. And now I was confident, and I was suddenly able to set boundaries, like personal boundaries that are important, right? So what I want to iterate is it wasn't only my changes in myself that also changed my world. Those were huge changes that changed my world. But another factor that really changed my world was the way other people treated me when I look a little bit more physically fit, but also when I walk around confident and more with an alpha personality, right?
Mhm.
The world treated me different. Suddenly everybody wanted to be my friend. I walk into a bar and every head would turn. I would walk through that bar and people would almost part out of my way when I had never experienced anything like that before. In college, I was a plumber. While during the summers while I was in college, I hated plumbing. I wasn't going to be a plumber. It was a terrible job. I wasn't good at it. However, when I started taking testosterone, my boss suddenly gave me a raise for no better reason than I stood before him looking stout and confident. Right? So,
Mm,
so the
mm,
world just treated me better. It was just a
mhm.
different, I had never experienced that before. So, I want to iterate that too, is just humans take social cues
Yeah.
and social behavior is kind of predicated on a lot of these social cues. And you get treated differently when you have an alpha presence, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so what I started to do is I started helping other people, right? And I didn't have, I just worked in a local lab, uh, local emergency room as a lab tech at the time. And I didn't make a lot of money. I only made like $9 an hour. I made $270 a week. I couldn't even support myself. Um, I started helping other people, and because some people would come to me and say, "Hey, I've seen how you've dramatically just changed
Mhm.
your life. Like, what did you do?" I said, "Well, let me show you." I Another thing is once I saw how much testosterone helped me, I started to read voraciously. I
Yeah.
researched it on my own. I read voraciously. I couldn't put the information down. Right? Most kids my age would come home from school and play video games. I couldn't wait to come home and study hormones. So I just
Mhm.
I just dove into it head first and made my entire life about it at a very young age.
Mm.
So when I started helping other people, they would show me respect and admiration for actually helping them, I and it gave me a dose response: dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. I talk a lot about that because they're pervasive in controlling human behavior.
Yeah.
So like passion is another word for a sustained dopamine uptake, right? And so when people show you respect and admiration for helping them, you get this passion, and I developed this passion for which just drove my study and desire to be in the hormone field even more. Um, Over time, I got uh, I started getting clients. It started taking long enough where I had to monetize my helping of other people. Otherwise, I just wasn't going to have enough time to do it. So I started to monetize it, and I would, kind of charge people. Essentially, what I would do is I nailed down some supply chains for obtaining testosterone and its derivatives, and then essentially sell it to people. And this was a black market operation. There's no way you could do this in the medical, legitimately in the medical, through a medical prescription. This was 20 years ago when it was a lot more stigmatized than it is
Mm.
now.
Yeah.
So this was a black market operation. I knew what I was doing. I knew what I was doing was illegal. But what happened is one of my clients at one time told me about this website where people do this online. I went and checked it out. It was an arduous process, but I also became an official source on this website. Well, with my knowledge and a few simple good business practices, again, I was making $270 a week is all I was making, and maybe a little bit extra from helping people with testosterone, helping guiding people. But with with a few implementing a few simple good business practices, my business online just blew up, absolutely blew up. So I within 6 months, I was bringing it. Remember, when I started this, I was making about $270 a week. I was hoping I could make two or three hundred extra dollars a week. I was hoping that I could do that because then I'd be a little bit more comfortable, right?
Yeah.
Within 6 months, I was bringing in $21,000 a week, and then 30,000, and then 40,000, then 50,000. Then by the end, I was bringing in $100,000 a week in income. At one point, I was rated the third most popular steroid source in the world, even though I only
Mhm.
service the United States, but that's how popular I
Mm.
was at one point. So, um, I just turned it into this empire, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot to that story, and it is online if you want. It is pretty interesting. But the main point is this. So I eventually it did catch up to me. I did get indicted. by the DEA, FBI, and DEA. I did get sentenced to 78 months or 6.5 years in prison. I got out in 2022. But while I was in prison, I used my time wisely. So, what did this story get me? I had over 20,000 clients, right? I guided over 20,000 people through the use of
Mm.
hormones.
Wow.
If we take a look at the medical community, there's a fundamental foundational problem with the education of providers regarding hormones. They do not learn about it in medical school. It is not in the curriculum. They learn an equivalent in all of medical school. They learn an equivalent to a paragraph or two about testosterone, and that's it.
So I can't help but to interrupt real quick because this is a
Mhm.
fascinating. It's fascinating that they learn so little about it, right? So
Yeah,
we know they learn very little about nutrition, which is super foundational.
right.
But hormones are communicators. They are
Yeah,
integral to everything that we are and everything that we do, and how our
foundational.
body functions and how our brain works. And to have such little education on the again, it's sort to me kind of this foundational piece of who we are. How is this
Mhm.
possible?
Yeah,
It's
it's
crazy.
it's as abstract as the lack of education about nutrition, right?
Hmm.
Like the But yeah, but you're right. The hormones are foundational metabolic and neurological signals, and as we're going to learn, they also have a lot to do with controlling the immune system. So, and they were foundational. So they have been. These are some of the first complex signal molecules, complex beyond just like a vitamin D or something, or some simple molecules. They're the first complex receptor modulated molecules. They have been evolving for 500 million years. Every single vertebrate and most plants have testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone, right?
Hmm.
500 million years of
Yeah.
evolution, some of the first complex
Mhm.
signal molecules. They're absolutely foundational, and the rest of your health is defined by the health of these, right?
Yeah.
That is not understood. Because
Hmm.
the medical community doesn't understand it, by extension, the rest of society does not
Hmm.
understand that.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. The little information they do learn is antiquated notions and dogma from decades ago. It's
Yeah.
stigmatized information, the wrong information.
Hmm. Yeah.
What did my experience get me? It got me more experience because it's so stigmatized, providers just don't use it. They choose not to use
Hmm.
testosterone. They're scared of it because ignorance breeds fear,
Yeah.
and they're scared of it, and they think it's dangerous, and they think that it's a controlled substance, which makes it difficult, if not impossible, to research. So that also put a big damper on the ability to use it and understand it. So there's all these things that have just gotten in the way. And so for me, though, when I worked in an unregulated market, I was able to experiment with all kinds of dosing and all kinds of compounds and
Hmm.
all kinds of combinations to the tune of over 20,000 people. More
Wow.
experience than any
Hmm.
providers had, because again, they don't use it very often. So
Hmm.
I've just seen it on a more vast level than just about anybody else in the country due to my unique history. Right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So that's what this got me. Now, what I do want to iterate is I did know what I was doing. I knew what I was doing was illegal. I am accountable for those actions. Right.
Hmm. Sure.
Um, I did my time and I learned and I used my time wisely. So this becomes a story of redemption. Now, while I was in prison, I read voraciously about business. I got a mentor. We wrote a business plan, a big long business plan
Hmm.
over a year and a half. And when I got out of prison, I executed on that business plan. I have a mentor that's a business partner of mine, just a business genius who really helps tilt this up into a very large, efficient operating machine. Um, so, so here we go. Now we're one of the larger, we have 50 state coverage, one of the larger clinics in the country. I use my knowledge to really focus on helping people and doing it the right way. Every other clinic I looked at, one of the things that when I came from where I was, the study that I had did kind of more the bodybuilding community,
Hmm.
I was shocked at the lack of understanding of the basic pharmacokinetics of these different compounds and the routes of administration. So I was just kind of shocked at the lack of understanding.
Yeah.
So I knew I could do this better. through multiple ways, not only better and more knowledge, but also better customer service because customer service is really lacking in this industry as well.
Mhm.
So as far as customer service and knowledge and ability to use all these compounds effectively to really dial people in and really fine tune protocols to really help people and make people look and feel their best.
Yeah, cool. So I want to back up real quick because I have a question for you
Mhm.
regarding, so it's about you, but my thought would be if we have parents who are watching, or if we do have youngsters who are watching and they're feeling like you felt, right? Depressed,
Mhm.
unmotivated, sleeping all the time. What do you think, maybe in more general terms, would create a situation where a young man is not producing the testosterone he should be producing because it should be, you know, flying high,
Yeah.
this is what men do.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. And so we're at a crossroads in a time, right? There's several factors that have come together to create a pervasive deficiency in hormones across the board
Yeah.
for men and women.
Hmm.
And that's it. I think Gary Brecka is common is a popular person and personality in this industry. He calls hormone deficiency a silent epidemic. Nobody's
Hmm.
really talking about it,
Hmm.
even though it's being talked about. There's studies that show that prove there's endocrine disruptors everywhere. It's
Everywhere.
I just watched or I just read an article that they found endocrine disruptors in the headphones. Every major brand of headphones, plastic headphones you put in your ears, um, the new ones, the Bluetooth ones, right, they all have endocrine disruptors in them. It's in the food you eat, the water you drink, the stuff you touch, the soaps you use,
The
the
clothes we
receipts.
wear. Yeah.
It's everywhere and you can't avoid it. And they're endocrine
Mhm.
disruptors and they stop the efficient production of our hormones.
Yeah.
Or they just block androgen receptors, or they act like phytoestrogens and they actually over-agonize estrogen receptors, creating more. This is some of what we're going to learn today is they create more estrogen receptor alpha, which is proliferative and causes problems.
Mhm.
Um, and so when I first started this clinic, let me give you an example. When I first started this clinic, I assumed that I would go after 45-year-olds and above because those are the people who need it the most, right?
Mhm.
Um, I assumed that that would be my target audience. That was the low-hanging fruit. Well, it turns out that our largest demographic is 30 to 40-year-olds.
Mm.
Our second largest demographic is 20 to 30-year-olds.
Unreal.
Younger and younger people are absolutely deficient in hormones and they can't fix it.
Hmm.
So there's younger and younger people who need these hormones, and it's just it is an epidemic. It really is, and but because of the lack of education, nobody really understands how important they are or how bad the problem is. There's been studies, clear evidence that men in 1970 had like twice the testosterone levels that men
Yeah.
in today have. It's
Hmm.
the they call it the cohort effect, right? People back here had a lot higher levels than the people now. There's just evidence, proven evidence of it, and it's scary when you keep
Hmm.
looking at the decline. And one of the problems is like we just redid not too long ago, the medical community redid the ranges based on new averages, which means that you're normalizing decline and you're normalizing
Unbelievable.
dysfunction. And
Yeah.
that's what's happening. We're starting to normalize
Hmm.
this.
Yeah. I was gonna, so my mind maybe went a little conspiracy that's not conspiracy in my mind, but all we're doing is we're feminizing men.
Yeah, yeah, and well, in normal, like so, they're fundamental. That's correct, but also they're fundamental neurological signals too. So we're also breeding a depressed
Yeah.
set of men that are not, and just kind of that are not ambitious, not motivated, and and just kind of complacent and content,
Hmm.
in their current situation, and that's not what makes progress, right?
Right.
That's not what the country was built on. That's not what the
Yeah.
world was built on.
Well, and I think so often it was just like when we're sitting in this place, we can't understand what's going on. Why am I depressed? Why am I unmotivated? What's wrong with me? And that's so much of what it is we don't have, if we don't have the understanding of the intricacies of the body, and that these are symptoms. And that's kind of where I am with in my world. I'm like, you got to know that these are symptoms. You got to
Yeah.
understand that the body's always talking to us, right? Testosterone is neuroprotective for men.
Hmm.
Estrogen is neuroprotective for women, and having these crazy imbalances and deficiencies are both inflammatory, and just push disease and illness. And so let's kind of get into that, because we don't always think about, well, if my hormones are off, maybe I'm not motivated enough, maybe I'm depressed, but what about GI health?
Yeah.
Right? What about my immune condition that I'm struggling with? Right?
Yeah.
And so let's jump into either one of those. I kind of going all over the place.
No, that's okay. Well, this is going right on the kind of outline that I wrote for this. So let's
Oh,
talk
great.
about that. Let's talk about exactly what you're talking about. Let's talk about
Okay.
the benefits of testosterone and estrogen and progesterone. And then let's start leading it into gut dysbiosis and what's actually going on with a lot of autoimmune disorders in general, and then inflammatory bowel diseases and
Yeah.
how it all there's all kind of similar mechanisms that all create all of this, right? So let's talk about the benefits of testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone. Again, they're all foundational metabolic and neurological signals. Also, testosterone specifically is very influential in the immune system, right? On suppressing an overactive immune system. We'll get into that. So here's, you mentioned that testosterone is neuroprotective. Testosterone is neuroprotective for both men and women. Estrogen is neuroprotective for both men and women. One of the bigger bouts of misinformation is that testosterone is a male hormone and estrogen is a female hormone.
Right.
That's a ridiculous notion.
Mm.
They're fundamental, foundational to both sexes. Women's most dominant sex steroid is testosterone. They have 10 times more testosterone than they have estrogen. Men absolutely need estradiol. If you have low estradiol, we have some drugs that can crush your estradiol, and you will have just an awful life if you have low estrogen.
What are symptoms for a man with low estradiol?
Ironically, it's the same as high estradiol. So fatigue, lethargy, anxiety, depression,
Okay.
erectile dysfunction,
Okay.
joint pain. And
Hmm.
it's similar for females too. They'll experience all those too. And I'm going to go over some of the reasons why right now, actually.
Okay.
So testosterone in both men and women solely controls the intensity of the phasic spikes in dopamine.
Mm.
So what testosterone does is it increases tyrosine hydroxylase. Tyrosine hydroxylase is the rate limiting step for creating catecholamines. Dopamine is a catecholamine.
Hmm.
Um, so when, so for instance, your different parts of your brain, the preoptic area, nucleus accumbens, the ventral tegmental area. These areas are all focused on kind of excitement, joy, libido. What happens is when you have a low testosterone level, the level of testosterone controls the intensity of the phasic spikes. If you have a high baseline testosterone, then when triggered with, things like winning a competition, or, maybe you see something that kind of turns you on in the libido sense, then your phasic spikes of dopamine in these areas of the brain will be high, right? And then you'll have a great reaction to one of these, or an expected intense reaction.
Hmm.
The phasic spikes in dopamine are high. If your baseline testosterone is low, then these spikes are just uh, attenuated, right?
Okay.
You just have these little spikes, and it's not much, and you don't feel much from it. You don't feel joy, you don't feel excitement, you don't feel motivation, and you don't feel libido.
Mm.
Um, Estrogen builds the dendritic spines for dopamine reception, so it's important in dopamine as well. Estrogen also solely controls the intensity of the phasic spikes in serotonin.
Mm.
Both testosterone and estrogen build the receptors for oxytocin. So, so that's three of the four neurotransmitters that control our emotion and control our behavior. Right?
Fascinating.
So we're talking about motivation, sense of well-being. Serotonin just makes us feel good about our
Mhm.
situation, and then oxytocin is emotional health and relationships, friendships, and uh, coupling,
Yeah.
coupling behavior.
Mhm.
Um, so. So again, when we're thinking about depression, these are the foundational hormones that naturally increase the neurotransmitters that control whether or not we're depressed or whether or not we're happy and joyful and excited. Instead, the medical community wants to give you an SSRI, which controls one vertical, just your serotonin. And serotonin is just a pacifier. It just makes you feel good about your current situation. When the healthier thing to do would be a more of a robust, we need all of the endorphin or all of the neurotransmitters, but or you need them all in a healthy balance, but also more of a dopaminergic effect, which gets you motivated and ambitious to change your environment, change your situation so that you're happier with it
Hmm.
instead of just serotonin just makes you pacified with your current situation. That's just an SSRI is not the way to deal with it.
Hmm.
Right. So the frontline treatment for neurological disorders for depression should be hormone replacement therapy.
Yeah.
It should not be depression medication. Not to say that those things aren't necessary for some people, depending on their condition.
Mhm.
Most people would get rid of their depression and be better suited with just hormone replacement therapy instead of depression medications, right? So, but try hormone replacement therapy first. It should be the frontline treatment. If that doesn't work, then you can try other medications, right?
Yeah, I
Um,
think that I want to jump in just real quick because one of the things that that I want people to know and to learn, because it just kind of like what you said, we think of, estrogen, progesterone is strictly female and testosterone is strictly male,
mhm,
where there are things like progesterone that can be used in men for anxiety, right?
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's, getting away from this viewpoint, but also then thinking about hormones. And, we
Mhm.
don't think about hormones until we're in our 50s or
Yeah.
60s, right? And then we're like, oh, well, they're all gone and my
And yeah,
time's up,
and then it's been
Mhm.
stigmatized. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
one thing. Another thing I want everybody who watches to get to understand. If there's one message I can convey,
Mhm.
it's that testosterone replacement therapy, hormone replacement therapy is not dangerous at all. It has been every single risk factor for HRT for females and testosterone to even testosterone for females and testosterone for men has been debunked. Every risk factor has been debunked. There is no risk in therapeutic doses of these compounds, only benefits. And I want that to be clear to everybody. So,
I'm going to interrupt you again.
yeah,
Sorry. So would you differentiate between bioidentical versus pharmaceutical?
sure. Most hormones are bioidentical. Like the term bioidentical is kind of a marketing ploy. I mean, there are synthetic there are synthetic hormones mainly used by birth control, which is birth
Right.
control is another pretty awful thing that we've done to teenage women
Mhm.
all the way up to menopause for their whole lives. Birth control intentionally lowers your hormones and
Mhm.
it lowers them to prevent ovulating,
Mhm.
but it keeps your hormones low intentionally to prevent the fluctuations that allow for fertility. When we reduce all your hormones, we're inducing hormone deficiency in you. It's just crazy.
And
What's the
changing
number
who
one
you
fear?
are and changing how you
You
think.
change you change the way you think, you change
Yeah.
who you are, you change your metabolism. What's one of the fears when people start taking birth control that they're going to gain weight and be depressed?
Hmm.
Why? Because your hormones are deficient.
Yeah.
Testosterone too.
Yeah.
It was a bad like the ironic thing is that the medical community is terrified of using hormones to help people, but they had no problem castrating females with hormones their whole lives since they as early as age 13. Right?
It's horrible. But going back to it real quick, there is synthetic estrogen that they're using for
They,
women in perimenopause and menopause.
yeah, they can, and
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to say that they exist. What I do want to say is that the education not to use those is pretty pervasive. So I don't think anyone really uses those anymore. I haven't heard of anybody. So
I
most
have.
of the
That's kind
what
of why I
my
was
point
saying
is,
it. But go
if
ahead.
you're gonna, yeah, my point is if anybody in their right mind is going to prescribe hormones, it's going to be bioidentical, right? Like, I mean, I don't know how available um, synthetic hormones are these days. Synthetic estrogens or
Mhm.
synthetic progesterones. I mean, again, sometimes they're using birth control, but yeah, but for hormone replacement therapy, I'm pretty like everybody's. probably going to, I mean, like 99%, 0.9% sure that people are going to use bioidentical. The scare, the being afraid that, oh, are yours bioidentical? It's not really a thing. They're all, anything that you're going to use in an HRT context and setting is going to be bioidentical. I guess that's the point I just wanted to make.
Okay. Well, so yes, but I have a client who this was 2 months ago that who was on synthetic estrogens. So, I mean, it's
Really?
yeah, oh, yeah, for sure. I've seen it. I've seen it multiple times. So
Well, color me wrong
it's
then.
really more
I
of
thought everybody knew.
yeah. I think it's just, I mean, you're in the industry, right? So
Yeah,
you're
right.
a lot deeper than I am, but it is something that I want people to be aware of and
Yeah,
to consider when they are doing HRT and making sure they're
yeah.
asking the right questions. That's really the biggest.
Yeah, no, that is good. That is
Yeah.
good. I didn't think anyone would use those. Um, okay, so now let's move on to the other benefits of these hormones. That's the neurological component. They also control metabolism. So testosterone controls your energy pathways. It tells your body how to use energy. When your testosterone is low, you're in what's called a catabolic state, which means your body will use primarily its own proteins as a primary source of energy over your fat stores.
So
This
break
is
it down.
where, yeah, this is one
Mhm.
of the fears, right? When we use GLP-1s,
Yeah.
the fear is that you're going to lose a lot of muscle mass. Why? Because people who become overweight or obese, they probably one of the reasons, not only lifestyle, but another one of the main reasons your metabolism is shot from hormone deficiency.
Mhm.
So if you have low hormones and we restrict your calorie intake, you're going to lose a lot of muscle, right?
Yeah.
Um, this is also noted to be the decline in nursing homes is it's all hormone deficiency and their bodies are
Mhm.
actually eating themselves. You're eating your own proteins. And
Mhm.
that's a large part of the decline in nursing homes. Is my contention and we treat many people in their 70s and 80s and just see life-changing things happening. People getting off of walkers, people being able to walk who couldn't previously walk, people who had walkers being able to get rid of their walkers. Um, we could have the population of nursing homes if we brought HRT into nursing homes.
Wow.
There's no question in my mind.
Yeah.
And that might have that might hurt a lot of people's pockets. So there's probably a lot of companies that don't want that to happen, right?
Yeah, it would also save people a lot of money who are spending the money to put people in these homes that maybe don't have to be, right? I
It's
mean,
absolutely correct.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Um, So metabolic, yeah. So when your hormone is low, you're in a catabolic state, you're eating your own proteins for energy. When your testosterone is higher, you're in what's called an anabolic state, which means that you're preserving and building muscle mass, one of the healthiest things you can do.
Mhm.
And your
Mhm.
body is prioritizing using fat stores as a primary source of energy, which is also very good when we're using fatty acid oxidation. We're not using glucose.
Mhm.
So that brings down insulin resistance, building just a little bit of muscle, increases our metabolism, and it gives us a reservoir for our glucose. So now we have more places to put glucose to get rid of insulin resistance, insulin resistance leads to atherosclerosis, the number one cause of death in the United States and many of the developed nations across the world.
Mhm. Right.
So metabolism. It just controls your metabolism. I've seen testosterone get people off reverse diabetes. I've seen testosterone get people off of cholesterol medications. I've seen it get people off of blood pressure medications, off of pain medications because it's
Mhm.
systemically anti-inflammatory.
Mhm.
I've seen it get people off of depression medications, SSRIs, Wellbutrin, and antipsychotics. I've seen people actually get off of addictions, pill addictions, because now they had dopamine from testosterone instead of the
Mhm.
pills that they
Mhm.
were taking or the drugs
Mhm.
they were using.
Yeah.
Just incredible things, right? Um,
Real quick, what is obviously I know this is dependent upon each person, but for a man and then for a woman, what do you see as optimal ranges for each?
that's a great question. So, and what I do want to iterate here is that testosterone does the same thing for females, right? It's not different. It does those exact same things I just mentioned for females and men. So the optimal range for men, and I even have studies, I've gone over some studies that prove that at the lower quartiles of the range, and this is where we say the range is completely arbitrary. Inside the range is hormone deficiency. You have symptoms of hypogonadism or low testosterone. People at the middle to lower quartiles of the ranges actually have metabolic dysfunction. And people, I found a study that showed that every 100 nanograms per deciliter you go up, so 100, go up 100.
Mhm.
This is for men. Go up 100 and you reduce your risk of metabolic syndrome, which correlates to cardiovascular disease by
Mhm.
13% every 100 nanograms per deciliter you go up.
Wow.
This means that if you're at the bottom of the range, by the time you get to the top of the range, you have a 39% lower risk of
Mm,
or metabolic syndrome and cardiovascular disease. That's huge.
huge.
That's
Yeah.
incredibly significant.
Uh-huh.
So, and so what we find in the field, and this is where more studies are needed, but what we find in the field is that the best place to be is at the very top or a little bit above the top of the range. So we kind of look for anywhere from like 800 to maybe even 1500. And
Okay.
everybody's different. Some people do better on the lower end. Some people need more testosterone, do better on the higher end of that. So it's not about just putting everybody at that range
Sure.
and putting everybody on a certain protocol or putting everybody on a certain dosage. It's about developing a methodology to figure out what yields the best results for each individual.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
So those are the ranges for men. For females, what we find in the field, and it's worse for females. So for men, it's at the top or a little bit above the range. For females, it's 2 to 5 times the top of the range, depending on which range you're using. So for females, sometimes the range goes from 2 to 45, and that the whole range is ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
all you have metabolic syndrome in the entire, and you have severe symptoms of testosterone deficiency below 20,
Mm,
severe symptoms.
hmm.
And the range includes that, right? So um, for females, we find as a generalization, most females tend to feel their best at a range of 100 to 300. Again, the range only goes to 45 sometimes. Sometimes for other ranges, it goes to 80. That shows you another thing, right? There's discrepancy within the
Yeah.
ranges. So like
Yeah. Yeah.
different labs have different opinions on what they should be.
So frustrating.
So, so 100 to 300. Now, again, there could be outliers. Some females feel better at like 80. Some
Mhm.
females need 400 before they feel right.
Okay.
So it's different for everybody, but as a
Yep.
generalization, that's
Hmm.
kind of what we're looking for.
Great. Cool. Thank you. Okay. I kind of derailed you. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Um, Estrogen. Estrogen also is a metabolic signal. It actually tells your body where to deposit fat. So if you have enough estradiol, it will move fat away from your visceral fat, which is the worst kind of fat,
Mhm.
and move it more into like epimysial fat, or in the muscles, or subcutaneous fat, which is healthier, and it actually gives your muscles a place to pull quicker energy. If your fat is right here at your muscles, you
Mhm.
can pull energy from it faster rather than having to mobilize it from your stomach, right?
Interesting.
So it tells your body where to deposit fat.
Hmm.
Um, and there's other benefits. So I'm trying to think. I did forget progesterone. You mentioned it. Progesterone for neurologically is a positive allosteric modulator of the GABA A receptor. That's fancy talk for it's an anxiolytic. It's just an anti-anxiety. It makes you it derails the fight or flight response.
Hmm.
It's nature's benzodiazepine. It works the same way a benzodiazepine, but progesterone is natural. It's the
Hmm.
natural benzodiazepine,
Yeah.
right?
People are afraid of progesterone. Can I get too much? I'm like, this is like, you can't get too much progesterone.
It's
It's,
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to hurt you.
hmm.
You like so, and we'll learn about this too. There's a lot of progesterone in the gut of females. So sometimes, like a high level of progesterone increases peristalsis, which can make them they interpret it as a bloated feeling. I feel bloated, but it's really just peristalsis going. Not always bad because um, it also kind of contains some of the symptoms of leaky gut. It actually pulls the proteins together for leaky gut syndrome. Um,
Fascinating. I
and
didn't know that.
and estrogen receptor beta does that too.
Okay.
So there, I was going to go into this. I'm trying to think. I did the metabolism. So let's go into now how testosterone modulates the immune system. Then let's go over the problems with immune disorders, autoimmune disorders, and or just overreactive immune systems,
Yep.
and then how that all pertains to bowel diseases, right?
Okay.
A lot of and then SIBO and everything.
Mm.
Um, Testosterone, also one of its functions, let me think of how to, of the proper chronological order to do this. One of testosterone's functions is to modulate the immune system. Your immune system will go crazy and be overactive if nothing gets in its way. And I try to I try to think of a way to describe this. Like there's other systems in your body that work like this, and the only other way to help describe it is there's another system in your body that does this, and it's still complex, but it makes the point.
Hmm.
And I can also talk about another thing that estrogen does. So you have what's called COMT and monoamine oxidase enzymes that break down catecholamines such as dopamine, norepinephrine,
Hmm.
epinephrine. Your body actually intentionally, as much as you produce, your body will break it down immediately, right? And that's the system your body has. You'll produce it, your body will break it down. If you do that, you'll be very depressed and anxious because you don't have enough neurotransmitters, right? So your body is depending on something to get in the way of the breakdown of your catecholamines so that you have circulating dopamine.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you don't have circulating dopamine or circulating epinephrine or norepinephrine. Serotonin is a monoamine too that can get broken down through COMT or MAO, monoamine oxidase, MAO. So your body has to put things in the way or just change the production of these. Testosterone increases, again, tyrosine hydroxylase, which increases the production of these catecholamines. Estrogen slows down COMT and MAO. It slows those processes down so it can start circulating. If you
Hmm.
have low estrogen, you'll have anxiety is one. Too many catecholamines can create anxiety and your neurons start diverting to the amygdala, so you have a fight or flight response constantly, right?
Okay.
Um, so uh, and not enough testosterone, obviously you won't produce enough of these catecholamines and you'll be sluggish and fatigued and lethargic and no libido or anything. So you need a healthy balance of these hormones, and one of the things they do is affect these neurotransmitters. They get in the way of the breakdown of these neurotransmitters, and your body intent depends on that. Your well-being depends on something getting in the way of that. So the same thing for your immune system. You have an immune system that will attack everything. Things are supposed to get in the way of those. One of the things that gets in the way of that is testosterone. Testosterone modulates the differentiation of T helper 1.
Hmm.
So it actually stops at the transcription level, the differentiation in the T helper 1, which is the attack. It's the attack uh, uh, T helper. It's like a white blood cell. It's like a part of your immune response. T helper 1. It's the attack. It's what attacks things. War, and when you're in war mode, it attacks. It creates macrophage 1, which is attack and war and destroy mode when your immune system is in that mode. And it will attack any antigen that it recognizes. Anything it thinks it doesn't recognize, or it even comes close to thinking it doesn't recognize, it will just mark it for destruction and attack. Right?
Yeah.
Testosterone gets in the way of the differentiation to prevent attack mode, right?
Okay. Hmm.
Suppresses overactive immune system. Um, uh, I'm trying to think here. So now let's take a look at what causes immune disorders or overactive immune systems, right? So and it's especially pervasive since the Industrial Revolution. We have processed foods with all this crap in them and environmental toxins that have been proven not only endocrine disruptors, your body just doesn't recognize all this stuff that we're putting into it. It's not, we didn't evolve to be able to deal
Right.
with this. Some people can deal with all these processed foods and all the crap that's in all these foods. Some people can't.
Hmm.
So what happens is when some of these diffuse in the cells and your body doesn't recognize it and considers an antigen, your body will start marking that the whole cell for destruction. It will try to attack these environmental toxins or these things, or it's many different things. It could be the Epstein-Barr virus. It
Hmm.
could be something like chronic Lyme.
Hmm.
It could be
Which is
some other
everywhere at this
bacteria.
point. I mean, we see it all the time.
Yeah, it could be some other bacteria. Gluten allergies are this. Your body is attacking gluten that's going into this. It could be something else. It could be heavy metals
Hmm.
that are in your systems. There's
Hmm.
so many different things it could be, but it all has the same function, the same result on your immune system. Your body attacks it. So what happens is you go into this KP, crap, what is it, KBFB? No, I have to look it up real quick. You go into this attack mode. I can't believe I just forgot it. I've been reading this like all before this, but it's called it's an attack mode, uh, Kappa something. I can't believe I can't remember it. Anyways,
That's okay.
um,
I wish I knew which what you were talking about. I would tell you.
it's the
No.
It's the KPFB pathway, I think it is.
Okay.
Just wanted to make sure I had it's kappa beta. I just wanted to make sure I had it right. Uh, I'll just call it KPFB. I think that's it. And then, but it's essentially the T helper. It's called the M1, the macrophage one shift where it's attack mode, and this is I think it's KBFB. Uh, pathway where you're where now it goes to this pathway enacts the DNA to release all of these defense mechanisms, including inflammatory cytokines, tumor necrosis factor alpha, interleukin 6,
Hmm.
interleukin 1 beta, right?
Yeah.
All these pathways start marking the cell for destruction, and then neutrophils and monocytes, here's another good part. We'll start attacking cells, and what happens? So here's another monocytes do come into this. So here's another part where the where one of the things that I look for when I do a CBC with differentials, I look at one of the things I look at in everybody is their monocytes.
Hmm.
It can be in range, and if it's still at 10 or over, this
Hmm.
is an indication that you're having a sustained immune response to
Yeah.
something, right?
Yeah.
So, and 10 is in the range.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it won't show anything. But when I
Yeah.
see 10, that's an alarm bell to me.
Hmm.
I'm like, something
Of
is,
course.
your body is reacting to something here. And it
So
may,
real quick,
and
were you talking about NF kappa B?
yes,
Okay.
I said FB,
Yeah.
NF
Yeah.
kappa B. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, that's the pathway. Sorry. I've been reading it too, and I don't know why I just had a brain fart.
I brain fart all the time. It's okay.
NF kappa B. So that is the when your body is going into attack mode, it's the pathway that puts your cells in the attack mode. And then you start marking your cells with tumor necrosis factor alpha, interleukin 6. Those are just
Hmm.
some example. There's a lot of
Yeah.
inflammatory cytokines. Those are inflammatory cytokines. Now, when you're in macrophage one, macrophages and monocytes and neutrophils come and attack your cells, the cell walls expand and they change the dynamic. They change the cell walls. What's important about cell walls is the exact um, liposaccharides, the exact way that they're formed allow for certain things to pass through them and certain things to be blocked, right?
Hmm.
But you need nutrients to get it to shuttle in, or you need amino acids to shuttle in, and every single cell has a function for the greater body. It produces a peptide or a protein that has that's a signal for something for the greater body, and every cell has a different function, right?
No.
However, when your cells expand and change the way that they're formed, things can't get out and things can't get in. So your cells completely lose their function. What
Hmm.
happens when your cells completely lose your function? It depends on where it is, but you have things like bone crushing fatigue because your cells aren't working anymore. There's you have things like bowel disease because you're not absorbing any nutrients. Nothing is your gut biome is not working the way it's supposed to. All the cells, the mucous membranes are gone. Your whole gut lining is being attacked in an attack mode, and it's just not performing the way it's supposed to.
I'm gonna add to this just a little bit because I love what you're saying because this goes back to what we see on labs and the way that we test and the way that we see
Mhm.
things, right? And so we have the ability to look at nutrients that are actually getting into the cell. And so we may be eating well and all these things. We're like, why the hell do I feel so bad?
Yeah,
Because if we're testing and looking only at the serum levels
the
of these
serum.
nutrients, yeah, it's not telling us what's getting into the cell. We need to
Mhm.
look at the intracellular uh, 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 uh,
Mhm.
content essentially and seeing if the nutrients are getting
Yep.
into the cell because that's where they do their job. And so we can be doing all of these things right, but if we have exactly what you're saying, this cellular
Mhm.
dysfunction where the lipids, the lipid layers aren't functioning and they're closed off, right? Then we have significant dysfunction because we have to have basic nutrition. You
Yeah,
have to have these nutrients in the cell to do their job. If
yeah.
it's not getting in there, you've got this cellular dysfunction,
You have dysfunction.
then all of it goes haywire,
Yeah.
just like you're saying. Yeah.
I've seen people with above the range vitamin B12
Hmm.
with clear signs of vitamin B12
Yeah.
dysfunction, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not absorbing into cells and it's
Right.
not being utilized. It's just in your serum doing nothing, right?
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah, I see
absolutely
this
correct.
all the time in labs where I'm like, I want you to look at your serum levels. Now
Hmm.
let's look at your intracellular, and they're all and so I see it
Hmm.
all the time that they're not below range, but like it's a pattern of all of them being just as almost at
Yeah,
the lowest range,
yeah,
right? Not in the red yet, but
yeah,
so low.
yeah,
It's scary.
yeah.
Hmm.
Oh yeah. Like you could be giving yourself all the nutrients that you're supposed to, but you're not, if you're not utilizing them,
Yeah,
then it's not going to matter.
right.
Yeah. So here's another dangerous thing about once the cells start to undergo dysfunction and they start to back up. Like if your body is producing these peptides that are supposed to come out of the cell and have a function for the greater body, and they're just backing up inside the cell, then now your cell goes into different emergency modes, and you have like either apoptosis, which is the way that programs cell death, but you have other ways that the cell can die too through an iron pathway.
Mm.
Iron in certain certainly in a certain way bound can actually be toxic to a cell, and
Right.
it can actually die. And when it dies through that method, it actually just almost like explodes, and all of the contents and all of the inflammatory cytokines and all of the debris and all of the toxins spill out
Mhm.
and affect all the rest of the cells around it. So now you're just breeding this dysfunction,
Yeah.
and it's just spreading and spreading,
Yeah.
right? And your body's just in attack mode because of one thing that may not actually be a problem, like gluten. Gluten for some people causes this to happen in the gut, and gluten is not a toxin. Your body would be okay, but if your body's treating it like a toxin and thinks
Right.
it's something it has to attack, it'll just keep attacking it,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And even at the expense of all your cells, right?
Yeah.
It's in attack mode. It's in this M1 shift mode. So, so this is kind of what dysfunction is and how it starts, whatever the cause. So, like I said, sometimes it could be Epstein-Barr, it could be chronic Lyme, it could be a bacteria, it could be a virus, it could be um, it could be an allergy that your body has to something you're eating and you don't know what it is. It could be heavy metals, it could be environmental toxins, it could be any of these things. It could be. So. And, and it can get worse and worse if we don't do anything about it. So now, now we look at the testosterone. One of the main things of testosterone. So we notice things like females have significantly higher incidence of bowel disease or autoimmune disorders than
Right.
men.
It's like 70, 80 to 80% higher or something like that.
Yeah,
And yeah.
right. And learning what we've learned so far, like what could be one of the reasons for this?
Hormones.
Females have lower testosterone
Hmm.
than men, and
Hmm.
testosterone is an immunomodulator.
Yeah.
And especially when we start normal, like when hormones are getting lower and lower as we go on, these disease rates are going up and up because our hormones are lower.
Mhm.
So testosterone, not so it has a on this shoot, what is it again? NF kappa B, right?
NF-kappa B. Mm-hmm.
This NF kappa B pathway, testosterone, when it binds to the androgen receptor, it translocates to the nucleus and has a direct block on the NF kappa B pathway.
Oh,
So NF
interesting.
kappa B is always sitting in your cell, and you actually need, and it's being held by these proteins. It's always there and always being held at bay. And what happens is there's a transcription factor that comes and dissolves the protein that's holding it at bay. Then it goes, has its effect. So what testosterone does is it actually stops the transcription of that protein that helps keep it at bay. So
Mm,
now so the testosterone has a direct effect on that. So it does not allow you to go into attack mode. It stops that. It stops the differentiation of T helper 1, and it keeps you in repair mode. So your body has, they call it M2 shift, right? This is macrophage 2, where your body is not in attack mode. It's in
mm.
repair mode. And there's all these repair things, superoxide dismutase. There's non-inflammatory cytokines, interleukin 10, interleukin even 17, I think is one. There's there's a lot of repair cytokines, not only inflammatory cytokines.
Right.
So your body does this repair mode and it's trying to remove cellular debris, make the mitochondria more efficient so they're producing more energy, more ATP, and just cleaning out the
Hmm.
cells. That's
Hmm.
M2. That's what testosterone shifts the entire immune system towards.
Fascinating.
So giving females testosterone, especially Dr. Edward Lichten pioneered research on using anabolic steroids for inflammatory bowel diseases, especially. He found a lot of benefit using them. So he said that yeah, these that we could at least keep them at bay and sometimes completely cure some of these conditions. So I had a couple studies. I guess I can't really share my screen, but let me just read you the titles of some of these studies that I found here.
Yeah.
Testosterone therapy in men with Crohn's disease improves the clinical course of the disease. Here's a study, that whole thing that all evidence that testosterone significantly reduces the symptoms of Crohn's disease.
Mm.
Here's another one. Androgens modulate the pathophysiology pathways of inflammation. It just shows that exactly what I said. It reduces the inflammatory cytokines, tumor necrosis factor alpha, interleukin 1 beta, and interleukin 6, and CRP.
Amazing. Yeah.
There's another one here that says testosterone suppresses oxidative stress via androgen receptor independent pathways in
Mm.
cardiomyocytes. So it reduces
Mhm.
oxidative stress. You're just promoting defense and repair mode instead of attack mode. And that's
Yeah.
what testosterone does. So, getting female testosterone up will help with, especially with these inflammatory bowel diseases, but all of this immune dysregulation, right? Um, Estrogen receptor beta is especially potent at bringing the proteins together inside your gut to prevent leaky gut, right? Progesterone does that too.
Mhm.
So agonization of estrogen receptor beta. There's a few things that have testosterone, specifically a metabolite, specifically testosterone. Also, when it goes to when it binds testosterone binding androgen receptor translocates to the nucleus, it also promotes the production of more estrogen receptor beta. So one of the problems with too much estradiol is estradiol promotes more estrogen receptor alpha. Estrogen receptor alpha is the proliferative sense that it helps everything grow and which is important in certain aspects of your life, especially during maturation when you're growing. You need a
Yeah.
lot of estrogen receptor alpha. There's also times when it can bad tumor formation, some of
Mhm.
these things, and it can also start to cause problems. You
Well,
have
you
estrogen
see
receptor
cysts,
alpha. You
right?
have it.
Ovarian cysts and things.
Oh
So that
yeah. Yep.
I see that a lot. So it's the growth, when it's the weight gain, when it's too much of this, you see these things, you see growth.
Yeah.
Not always in a good
Yep.
way. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not
Sorry to interrupt.
good in some cases, bad in other cases.
Right. Right.
Your body naturally has estrogen receptor beta, which
Mm.
is the antagonist to that. It's the anti-proliferative. You need a balance of both of these things.
Yeah.
Unbridled estradiol will cause more estrogen receptor alpha.
Mm.
Testosterone increases estrogen receptor beta. You need them in a balance with each other. Do you see
Yeah.
how this is all playing
Yeah.
out? Everything
Yeah.
needs to be in a balance.
Yeah.
So, so sometimes when we have conditions um, like phytoestrogens causing more estrogen receptor alpha production, and you start to get estrogen dominance, you can see where it's causing problems, and it does cause problems in the gut too. Too much estrogen receptor alpha actually rips those proteins apart and allows leaky gut, right?
Yeah. So
So
real quick, I want to make sure that, so you're saying phytoestrogens, are you saying xenoestrogens?
yes,
Okay. Okay. So the estrogen mimickers and chemicals.
yes,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and if we have gut dysbiosis, we're also, this is another thing I meant to say earlier, but everything's correlated, right? There's a big
Yeah.
correlation between the endocrine system, the gut,
Mhm. Yeah.
brain, everything all comes together. So, so the glucuronidation, right, which
Hmm.
is one of the
Hmm.
clearance pathways for hormones, the gut has what we call uh, beta glucuronidase,
Yeah.
which allows the hormones to reabsorb instead of be cleared. Now, a little bit of this is fine, but too much of it causes way too much. And this is usually what's happening in estrogen dominance. When the gut is under dysbiosis, it has too much beta glucuronidase, which allows all of your estrogen to reabsorb into your system. And you see females with really high estrogen,
Yeah.
really low
Hmm.
testosterone, really low progesterone. And this is a phase two detoxification problem. And and we're creating the system, this problem of too much estrogen receptor alpha, and we're causing bowel disorder and a leaky gut, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So this is you can see beta glucuronidase on a gut panel, which is what
Mhm.
it's something that I'll run all the time.
Yeah,
But what's fascinating, and so to kind of put a little pretty bow around it, and we're past time. I just sit and talk to you about this like
yeah,
forever. We'll just have to do another show. But
yeah,
it's the estrobolome, right? We have
yep,
it's our microbiome that plays a role. So you've got your breakdown of estrogens in the liver, but it's the estrobolome or the bacteria, the right bacteria, and enough of the right bacteria in the gut that tells the body we're going to eliminate or we're going to recirculate,
yep,
right? And
yep,
so when we have elevated beta glucuronidase, is when we have this recirculation of
mhm,
estrogens, you've got this massive estrogen imbalance
yep,
and these big symptoms. And
yep,
so it is so beautiful when you start to understand all of the connections, right?
yep,
Everything's connected, but
yep.
it gets me giddy. It's so fun.
Yeah. When you have this epiphany and you can start to put it all
Yeah.
together. And I think I
Yeah.
get all of it. Like it all comes together.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I don't want to keep it over time, but the
Yeah,
point
it's all
is
good.
you need enough, you need adequate amounts of each of these
Yeah.
hormones. Females need adequate amounts of testosterone, adequate estradiol, adequate um, progesterone. You need them all in a healthy balance with each other. And that's the most important thing. You can't have too high one, too high another. You need them all. So another thing is that DHT also really increases estrogen receptor beta, which it's important to have with estrogen receptor alpha. But one of
Hmm.
the metabolites of DHT specifically had a very strong affinity for estrogen receptor beta only.
Okay.
So it kind of singles out estrogen receptor beta, isolates estrogen receptor beta. So DHT is really good for things like preventing some of the breast cancers. When we take a look at using some of these anabolic therapies to reduce the overproliferation of some of the estrogen receptor alpha, there's
Hmm.
nothing better than DHT and 3-beta diol. It's one of its metabolites that hammers on estrogen receptor beta, and you can use that for improving, bringing the proteins together in the gut
Okay.
to reduce leaky gut, and you can use
Yep.
it for men can use actually DHT cream right on their breast to reduce gynecomastia, but it stops the proliferation of breast tissue.
Yep.
There's so many benefits of these things.
Cool. Let's do another show and talk about it.
Yeah, yeah, we can talk about it all.
I know. Cool. Well, I have just really enjoyed this. I learned a ton.
Mhm.
And I mean that's one of the main reasons why I do this, because I can talk to super smart people and
Yeah,
continue my own education. But tell me, or tell everybody where you can be found.
sure. So our clinic is goh4m.com. So we have 50 state coverage, even DC and Puerto Rico as well. Uh, but yeah, you just come there and we can even give you a free consultation. If you just come on there and just say that you want somebody to look at your blood work, I can do it personally. We have a team of great people who really understand this stuff. We can look at your blood work and then give you a free consultation. Sometimes if you don't have blood work, we have like you may have to pay a discounted rate for the blood work that we can provide you. But if you come with blood work, we'll just take it and take a look at it and give you a consultation for free. Like I said, the only payment could be your blood work if you don't have any, and we have to, and we can provide it for you. But it's not much. It's just a nominal cost. But yeah, we have some of the most knowledgeable people and the best customer service. We're the fastest growing HRT clinic nationwide in the country. And if you come join us, you'll see why, and you'll see why we're the best, and we'll eventually be the largest company.
Yeah, good for you. Super exciting.
Thank you.
I think a big takeaway is, when we go, whether I'm doing somebody's comprehensive metabolic panel, CBC, or if you're going to have your doctor or your other provider practitioner do it, they tend to be pretty minimal anyway. I tend to run really comprehensive CMPs,
Mhm.
but we should always look at estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone. It should be part of a comprehensive metabolic panel
It-
always.
not only now, they should take it when you're in your early 20s. We
Yeah.
need to see a baseline of
Yeah.
what were when you were in your prime.
Yeah.
And that it's so important to see that, and no providers doing that, because we have to have something to compare it to. Like now you're 40 or 45. Well, what does it look like compared to your 20-year-old self?
Right.
And that's important. That's an important distinction to
Mhm.
make.
Sure. Sure. Of course. All right. Wonderful. Thank you again. I
Okay. Well,
appreciate you
thank
a
you. Thank you
ton.
for having me on. Thank you for what you do too. Like
Oh, thanks.
you're, I read all the mail, the mails that you send everybody, and they're just brilliant. I actually read them through and I learn things, and they're just
Oh,
brilliant. And thank you for what you do.
appreciate it. Appreciate it a ton. So, we will have you on again for sure. And so for everybody else, of course, this is Taste Life Nutrition Radio and Podcast. You can find me at Taste Life Nutrition and all the socials. It's everywhere. So we're here 10 a.m. Mountain every Thursday. So join us. Every week we're hoping we're going to get back in the studio. So hopefully next week we're going to be back in the studio and back to the way things were. But we're getting there slowly and steadily. Look out though for we're starting to really push this workshop. It's a free workshop. Sorry, I'm trying to not call it a workshop. It's a conversation. It's a health intelligence conversation where we're just digging deep into one key topic, and we're going to answer questions and just have some fun, right? I want to have good conversations around what is really good health for people as individuals, right? Just like we do for this show all the time and having people on like Ryan. So join us, reach out to Ryan, go to his website, get a consultation with him and his team. They're doing great work, and I appreciate just your big brain. I love it. So good.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you
All
as
right.
well.
All right. Wonderful. We'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay.
Bye.